Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Friday and all of today's guests, including Ed Willis, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Dive into West Coast luxury with oceanfront rooms, a seaside restaurant, and relax in their indoor and outdoor pools. With free parking, on-site cafe, fitness center, and so much more, your ultimate escape awaits. Book your stay today. Call 250-248-8333 or visit us at BaysideResortParksville.com. I don't know if I've ever seen a better title for a book regarding a subject that I care a whole lot about.
Yep.
But Ed Willis, longtime province columnist, he has a book out, Never Boring, the up and down history of the Vancouver Canucks. Say what you want about the Canucks. This is bang on. Never, ever boring. And Ed Willis joins us now. Thanks for doing this, Ed. How are you, sir?
Big Ed.
Hey, guys, and might I just add, neither one of you have aged one iota over the years.
Yeah, I wish that was true. He hasn't. I don't know about me. I had a significant birthday the other day.
Yes.
Hey, we all miss you writing a regular column. Yeah. Such a talented writer, and good to see you still writing. Tell us about the focus. I think we can guess, but the focus of your book, Ed.
Well, it was trying to find a structure that tells the story of the Canucks, because like it's up, it's down, it's all over the place. And I was on Twitter one day about 4 or 5 years ago, and people were bouncing back and forth. And I can't even remember what the original what if was, but somebody wrote, boy, what if this had happened to the Canucks? And somebody underneath responded, boy, there's a book there somewhere. And a little light went on in my tiny brain, and I thought, that's just it. And I started playing around with it. And that question serves as the launching point to tell the story of each era in the Canucks history. And as you two are well aware, it hasn't always been gloom and doom and dark and unnatural forces. There's been these moments of hope and optimism. But those are also the points where not only do things go wrong, they go so irretrievably wrong, it sets everything back 5-6 years, and then the cycle is repeated. So that's where we were, and I think it works, and I think it works for Canucks fans.
Ed, I don't know if you cover this in your book. Does it start with the Carnival Wheel and Gilbert Perreault and Dale Talon way back in 1970?
Good question, Donnie. No, it doesn't. You would think it would, but when I was doing the research, I stumbled upon this gem, and really, though, the ghosts that haunt the Canucks started before the puck ever dropped for their first game. In fact, it started long before 1970. The Canucks were supposed to be a slam dunk to get into that first round of expansion in 1967. Clarence Campbell said, yeah, they're in, no problem. And the wrench that was thrown in the works was tossed by Stafford Smythe, then chairman of the Maple Leafs. And he told Jim Kearney at a Western Hockey League meeting about 1965, tell you what, Vancouver, you give me the land and I will build you a brand new building, and that will guarantee your entry into the 1967 round of expansion. Good deal for Stafford, not so much for Vancouver. So this becomes this hugely divisive civic issue. It eventually gets voted down. And Stafford Smythe famously says, Vancouver is a Bush League town and there won't be NHL hockey here for another generation. Well, that generation turned out to be 3 years. But that one thing, like this is an era when really 3-4 families, 3-4 individuals controlled the NHL. If you made an enemy of one, you made an enemy of the entire league. And it doesn't sound like it much. The Canucks still get in 1970, but that really sort of seemed to release these forces within the power brokers and the people who were supposed to originally own the Canucks. They became divided. They started bickering. When they finally put their proposal together, it was a complete schmozzle. And Clarence Campbell said, this is an embarrassment. It get pushed back to 1970, and they're still in disarray. And that's why the Canucks' first owner is this dude from Minnesota named Tom Scallon. And typically Canucks, he owns the team, and 3-4 years later, he ends up doing a stretch in Ocala for fraud. So It's the beauty of the Canucks. You really can't make this stuff up. And, the characters, the plot twists, the surprises, everything that happens in their narrative, it's all there. And it's kind of gold for a writer, to tell you the truth.
Well, Ed, for me, the 80s, 82 was a great year, but after that, there were some lean years, and it did not turn around till Pat Quinn got here, and then Trevor Linden got here not much longer. So what about the 80s when you were doing your research?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of skimmed over that. I've gotten to know Tony Tandy over the years. He's a member of the club I belong to, Seymour. Lovely guy, and I had to apologize to him because there was just nothing happening in those years. Like, Tony and Patrick Sundstrom were really the reasons to watch the Canucks for about 4 or 5 years. But the rest of the team was awful, except for, I do a deep dive into the Cam Neely trade. And under a chapter that covers the Canucks draft day blunders from the 70s until they drafted Trevor in '88. Like I said, there just wasn't a lot of meat there, and then things turn around when they hire Pat, as you said, Rick. But even that was accomplished in such typical Canuck fashion. They hire Pat. It ends up in the court. He's prohibited from coaching the team for 3 years, so he has to be the general manager. It was just a crazy circumstance. They got the right guy eventually, but how they got them, like I said, is so on brand for the Canucks.
Ed, I'm sure you talked about ownership. It's been a big deal throughout the history of the Vancouver Canucks. The Griffiths family, Aquilini, McCaw was there for a short time. We'll talk a little bit about, did you get to talk to Aquilini about this? And what about his... how he got the team and had to go to court, that whole thing. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's covered off. Francesco and I do not have a relationship. He wouldn't talk to me, so that's fine. I did talk to Ryan Beatty at length, and he was a revelation. Not really what he said, but how he said it. Like, he's not bitter. He thinks things happen for a reason. He doubts if his partnership with Tom Gallardi would have lasted long, because Tom's a hands-on, involved owner. Ryan wanted to be in the shadows, but that's neither here nor there. Short answer: no, I didn't go deeply into the McCaw ownership, and I don't think that really gets the treatment it deserves for just what a mess that was, and how so many decisions made in that era by a guy who really didn't want to own the Canucks. Set the team back, and really it doesn't. They don't come out of it until they hire Brian Burke as the general manager, and of course he turns the team around, and then they fire him.
Yeah. Ed, you talk never boring, the up and down history. It's frustrating and painful for a lot of people, but would you agree that through it all, the Canucks are somehow lovable?
Yeah, they are, and that's it. Because they may be a mess, but there are a mess. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's it. And I've always maintained, Donnie, and I think you're like-minded. There's a force field at the Rocky Mountains in Canada, and things don't get in and things don't go out, and that's why, like, the Canucks have been. I don't know about you, but like I like cult movies. I like cult bands that don't necessarily have a wide following, but I know they're interesting and they're good. And I think the Canucks kind of fall into that. They are very interesting. They have been good over time, and I think that's part of their appeal to the fans. It certainly isn't, the raft of banners hanging from Rogers. God, I still keep wanting to call it GM. Please call it hanging from Rogers Arena. But I think that's the trade-off.
They're the Spinal Tap of NHL franchises, Ed. Hey, where's your book available for people who don't know?
It hits the bookstores October 5th, so it should be at any book. So remember bookstores, guys?
Yes.
It should be there October 5th, and then available online. And then it's available for our American listeners. I don't know if we have any. It's available in the States on Amazon. Not till April, don't know why, but I'm sure there's a good reason.
And one more, Ed, but in the title, Never Boring. That must have been so fun for you as a columnist, as somebody involved in the media, because they are never boring.
It's funny. I'll just try and walk you through the genesis of the book. It was originally supposed to be published in the fall of '23, And I hustled all that summer to finish, and I finished it about August, and I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be great. And the publisher decided to push it back to the fall of 24. Aha, says I, what could possibly happen in one season that would change the narrative of this book? Well, we know what happened in 23, 24. But I also think it makes for a better book, and I think it's more representative of Canucks history because it was another one of these bright moments that keep the faithful engaged. That's almost a reward for their devotion to the team, and I think it's more in keeping with the overall narrative of the Canucks in their 54 years than if it would have been if I would have published in 23. And if you remember the 4 or 5 years which preceded that, those were some bleak years.
October 5th, never boring. The up and down history of the Vancouver Canucks. Ed, thanks so much for this. We'll get you back on. Thank you so much.
Oh, anytime, guys. I appreciate it. And good seeing both of you, too. I don't miss a lot of things about the business, but I do miss the people. So, yeah.
Yeah. And we miss you, too, Eddie. Enjoy retirement, Eddie.
Right back at you. He's probably got another book coming out. Ed, thanks for this.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Eddie.